Very good evening, all.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Very good evening, everyone. I am Preeti Soni, Regional Manager, Madhubun Publication, would be the host for today.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening. Thank you for joining in.
Good evening, ma'am.
Very good evening, ma'am.
Happy evening, ma'am.
Happy evening and happy Diwali to all of you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening and happy Diwali to all the educators. Yes.
Happy Diwali, ma'am.
Happy
Good
Diwali.
evening, ma'am, and happy Diwali to you too.
Happy Diwali.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
for joining on a weekend after the Diwali. We'll begin the session in another 1 minute so that all the participants can join in. Very good evening.
Good evening.
I hope you all enjoyed your Diwali vacations and schools are going to start from Monday onwards.
Yes, school starts from Monday.
Yeah.
Sure.
So all recharge for the Monday.
We have already started with our school.
Okay. Okay, Gagandeep ma'am. That's good.
So, ma'am, is there any recording also that we can share it later with the teachers and all?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely, if you are looking for a recording, we have started the recording of this session and we'll provide you on them.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll keep all the participants on mute modes. If you have any queries or any questions you want to ask from the Smriti ma'am, you can put it on the chat box. We'll take the question at the end of the session. So I would request everybody to kindly put yourself on mute. I have put everybody on a mute. Yes. So we are about 200 participants and we are good to go now, I think. Once again, a very good evening to everyone. I am Preeti Soni from Madhubun Educational Books. Welcome you all to the another session of Foundations. And today's topic is a storytelling as a pedagogy for teaching. We all are humans. We all are storytellers. We have virtually forever used stories to communicate, to pass on the wisdom, and to stimulate the imagination. There are the evidence that the humans may even learn better from the stories, and the content is presented in the form of stories rather than the lecture for a variety of reasons. So let's give her a brief introduction to Smriti Agarwal ma'am, who is there with us. She is going to help us to comprehend the value and relevance of storytelling as in a teaching approach. Smriti Agarwal ma'am, an active leader, associate editor, author, parenting and teacher mentor. Smriti Agarwal believes in knowledge sharing, innovating and reinventing the best practices in ECC space with the fellow educators. She is multiple award-winning early childhood care educator since the year of 1995, who has been associated with the best schools in the leadership role in India. For example, Amity Group of Schools, Podar International School, Vibgyor Group of Schools, and so on. She is currently designing pre-primary curriculum for the different projects across India. Smriti specializes in developing integrated curriculum, giving essential importance and space to personal, social, and emotional development, inculcating 21st century skills in the early years, taking workshops and webinars for the recent development in India, NEP 2020, NCF, and Nipun Bharat. She believes that education never ends. Smriti has attended as well as conducted multiple courses in different specialization under ECC. Recently, she completed the research-based Level 5 Award in Education Leadership for Health and Social Care for Children and Young People Services with the Council for Awards in Care, Health and Education UK. Her motto in life is, "One who dares to teach must never cease to learn." Welcome, Smriti ma'am, to the session.
Good
Smriti ma'am?
evening, Ms. Preeti,
Yeah,
and
good
thank
evening.
you so much for that illustrious introduction. I'm very happy to be here. I'm actually very happy to be a part of Foundations anyway, and I love conducting the sessions. And of course, all the participants who've attended my sessions earlier would know that it's going to be an interactive session and you people have to participate. There's no two ways about it, okay? So please do not shy away from putting up questions, putting up your feelings, experiences on the chat box. And at the end, we would definitely like to take up your questions also if there are any.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. So Preeti, thank you so much for hosting us today.
Thank you
Uh,
so much, ma'am.
Missing Himani, of course, because
Yes.
she's always been there with all my sessions. So today it's a pleasure to see Preeti with us.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. So story-based pedagogy is something that we will be talking about today. Like Preeti said very correctly that, we are humans and all humans are storytellers. Even if we have to narrate an incident, it's in the form of a story that we ask them, what happened that day? This happened, that happened. My husband said this, my child said this. In my class, that child, he did that. His parents are every time we are into stories. So basically, if you feel that you're not a good storyteller, then you're lying to yourself. Because every time that you're narrating an incident, every time that you're talking about something, you're actually narrating a story of what happened.
Of course,
Somebody
ma'am.
can you please?
Yeah, I have put everybody. Sorry. Ma'am, Smriti ma'am, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So they still it's not on mute.
I would request all the participants to kindly put yourself on mute, though I have muted all.
Yeah, now there's no sound.
Ma'am, I'll disallow them to unmute themselves. Now you can unmute. Yes. You are unmuted, Smriti ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No problems. Yeah, if you have to mute everybody, it includes me.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So okay. So first question first. How many of you have attended any of my sessions earlier? Thumbs up. Any thumbs ups that I see? I see one thumbs up. Preeti, how many do you see?
Ma'am, 3.
3. Okay, good. That's it?
Yes.
Only 3, 4 of you? Okay, so it's going to be a new experience for you. Okay, good enough. Not a problem. And like I said, it's going to be an interactive session. So please do interact because otherwise I'll get bored. I don't know about you, but I'll get bored. Okay. So we'll not bore each other. All right. So let me share my screen and we will start with the storytelling. How many of you like to listen to stories? Okay. Another thumbs up.
We can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 11, 12.
Okay.
I hope everybody loves to listen this story.
Anyone who doesn't want to listen to a story or doesn't enjoy listening to stories will have to do so today, yeah? Because my story-based pedagogy is not only about me telling you about stories, you'll have to listen to stories also. Are you ready? More thumbs up I want to see. Are you ready to listen to stories?
No, ma'am, we can see, yes, 7, 8, 9, 10 is gradually increasing. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. More on the chat box as well. Yes. Thank you,
Very
participants.
good. So I have some hands raised. If there's somebody who wants to ask something, or was it a thumbs up that became a hands up?
I think it wasn't a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Because they have already given thumbs up twice or thrice.
Yeah, so now they're raising their hand that me. I love to listen to story. Yes, it's like that. Okay, fine. So I'll warn you beforehand, story-based pedagogy is a very big subject. It cannot be covered in a 1-hour session. Okay. When we talk about pedagogy, it is about the methodology that you're going to use in your classrooms for effective teaching and learning to take place. For that, there are learning outcomes, there are assessment parameters. And if you're talking about a complete curriculum based on stories, then there is a lot of work required. So you'll have to actually, basically, it's like a week's session, So we cannot do everything right now. So what we are going to do today, we're going to touch base on how stories and how much of importance do they have. So if any one of you is aware of it, NEP 2020 and NCF, that's the National Curriculum for the Foundational Stage 2022, insists on story pedagogy, and they say hands-on learning and active learning by the participants is very important. So art, music, performing arts, nature, stories, everything should be a part of the early childhood classrooms. And early childhood classrooms means your classrooms. That is from preschool to grade 2, the foundation stage, right? 3 years to 8 years. So why is it so important? Like we said, because with stories, I think we learn more. Why do we learn more with stories? Anyone who knows the answer? You can put it in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and say. Why do we learn better with stories? You all admitted to that, now when Preeti said we learn better through stories. You said, yes, yes. Why?
Yes, participants, you can give your answers on the chat box. So we have 2 messages now. Gives the connection with the real life situation, Meeta ma'am said.
Okay.
Interactive, ma'am, Nirmala ma'am says stories are interesting. Priya ma'am says. Nirmala ma'am said it helps to get a visual connect with the things.
Okay.
And Jayashree ma'am said for the moral of the life. Shweta ma'am said to get some life lesson. Dramatic.
Right.
Learn values. Kids take interest. Eye connection with the real world. To explain more clearly to the children. Very right, ma'am.
All right. You all are correct. Basically, when children listen to a story, they make connections much faster. Okay.
Yes.
So when you are trying to teach a concept, and that concept is an abstract concept, like something about a solar system, a marine animal, a farm animal, which they've never seen before, or you're teaching about the concept of a water cycle, or you're teaching about the concept of any kind of a science project, what happens is that if the children have not seen it, not done it, how would they relate to it? But just turn it around and say it in a story format. So they learn everything. Now with the fairy tales, with the Aesop's fables, with the Panchtantra, with the Jataka tales, have they actually seen all of that? No, but they relate to it. Do you know that children love to listen to the same story again and again? 100 times. You'll get bored of telling the same story, but they never get bored. Why? They love listening to the same story. You know why? Because the brain responses at that time are such that the children know about the story and they love to predict what's going to happen next. And they relate to the characters and the situations and the backdrop of the story. Now, very importantly, it is important that how are we telling the story? Everybody can relate to this picture? Did you people hear the stories from your grandmothers? Thumbs ups?
Of course, yes.
Of course, yes. You listen.
Yes. So many yeses on the chat box, ma'am.
Yeah. We heard the stories from our grandmother, or sometimes from a book also, or even the stories that they used to narrate to you, because they used to make up their own stories also. They used to be damn creative. They can make up their own stories while you're eating food, while you're sitting with them. They can tell you hundreds of stories, and right from the ancient wisdom to till date, they can tell you stories. So this is one thing that we really associate very well with the grandparents. So today's grandparents also would be telling stories to their children, but today's children are too busy on the gadgets to listen to the stories. So we have to get stories back into their lives, right? All right. This, puppetry was an ancient art of telling stories through songs, music, movement, and a lot of puppets used to be used to tell the stories of the kings and the queens and of the ancient, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, everything. So you write from India. India is a country of folklore and of mythological stories and of ancient historical stories and everything. Right, in a particular village, in a remote place also, there used to be puppets. Katputli. अब वो बोलते थे कठपुतली का नाच देखना है. So that is not a naach only. That is, of course, there was a storytelling behind it. There has to be, you can tell the stories through shadow puppets. These stick puppets, have you made it in your classrooms? Ever? Most of you would have. I'm sure of it. So you make
They are
these
creating paper puppets, I think, ma'am.
paper puppets. You create those paper puppets and stick puppets, and then you put it behind a screen and throw light on them to create shadows. So many of them, and we can use that, right? So many forms of storytelling, first and foremost. So you can't tell one story or 10 stories in the same manner. You can always use different methods. Finger puppets, yes.
Shadows.
Every classroom would have that, and you can make it through your paper also. Just roll a paper, put a character on the top and wear it on your finger. Simple as that. There are socks puppets, there are hand puppets. You can use your puppet theater. Don't have one, put a bed sheet and put the puppets on the top. So it's so intriguing for the children. They really want to know where are they coming from. So most of the younger ones would actually go around this puppet theater or go around the bed sheet to see ki ye kahan se aaya. So it's difficult to control the class at that time. How many of you have experienced that? That the teachers are so passionately telling a story, and the children are, instead of looking at the puppets and listening to the stories, are actually going behind and seeing what it is. You've experienced that? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We are
yes.
getting so many yeses on chat box. Yes.
Yeah. You have to keep saying your yeses and nos on the chat box, yeah, because I want the chat box to be alive. And at least by the end of the session, there should be some 5,000 messages. Okay? Anybody who knows who this gentleman is? This you have to answer. Quiz. Anyone who knows who this gentleman is, can you recognize him?
Giju Bhai, ma'am, we are getting the answer.
Who said Giju Bhai?
Ma'am, EC ma'am, Sanjukta ma'am. No,
Sanjukta ma'am?
Premchand. Sanjukta ma'am said Premchand.
Premchand, okay. Who said Giju Bhai?
Ma'am, EC Suthar ma'am.
EC Suthar. So EC Suthar ma'am, you're
Jyoti ma'am said Giju Bhai.
all right. So some people know about this great man. He's not Munshi Premchand. He is Girija Shankar Bhagwanji Das Badeka. Bhagwanji Bhai Badeka. You know that? Lovingly called Giju Bhai. Giju Bhai Badeka. Okay. And if you people know about him, I don't know how much you know about him, but he was the pioneer in storytelling pedagogy, in the story pedagogy in India. You know about that? Anybody who's heard about him? He was the one person whose school was actually the entire curriculum that he had, the entire concept teaching method that he had was an active story-based learning. Today we talk about it. Again, we are going to the West and trying to understand that they have story-based pedagogy. But he was the pioneer in making story-based pedagogy in India right in the early 90s, the 1990s. So you see, what we had in India was much more in advance. And he was always advocating on very, very homemade kind of teaching aids. Very, very organic, indigenous teaching aids. And all his concepts were taught through stories. And he would never end a story on the first day itself. He would always say half of the story. Next day, when the children used to come back, he used to ask them, where were we? What all had happened? So that was retention. And then he would take it on from there. And everybody used to come back curious. Ki aage kya hua? Because only half of the story was told to them. Getting my point? See how you can generate curiosity, how you can have attention in the class. When you're telling a story and then you're leaving it to their imagination and they come back to you next day and they're eager to know what happened next. So same thing with your concepts also. You will say children don't pay attention, they're not listening to us, how do we teach? The concepts are not going into, their comprehension is not there. But when you're telling it in a story format, the curiosity, the attention span, the link to the incidents and the characters make it very, very interesting for the children. All right. So let's go on from there. Lot of text. No need to read. Preeti is recording it. If you want it, you can take it. You want to take a snapshot, screenshot, you want to take a picture, you can do that. So this text is basically for you to understand how children begin to be interested in the books right from the very first year of their lives. So we seldom miss out on that phase when the children are actually interested in books. At that time, when there's a baby who's just sitting in your lap, it's like 6 months, 7 months old, from then you can read out to children. And they get very, very interested in books, and they want to look at the pictures and they want to listen to the story, right? The songs, the stories read to them, they develop the child's linguistic skills. The language development takes place, the social emotional development takes place. The literacy is set in right from the very beginning, that they understand the words, the vocabulary, and they learn to experience through stories what the character is going through, what was the situation, what happened next, how did the character behave. All of these they learn. So their mental level, their linguistic level, their literacy level, their imagination level, their cognitive level goes up much higher if you're introducing books at an early age. So books are a man's best friends. Remember that always. So there are two quotations that you have to remember. One, in your classrooms, you must have books. And the second thing is, like, because a room without books is like a body without a soul. And the second thing is that books are the man's best friend. So you have to give this best friend to your children right from the very beginning. Okay? The visual perception through a story actually increases many folds, because even if you're telling a story without a book, without any pictures, without any cards and flashcards, or without any kind of an animation, still children can visualize it. Okay, like if I tell you right now, okay, fine, you know what happened today, right now, when I was coming for this session, I was like really tensed. I moved out of my office, and I saw there are no rickshaws around. The entire lane was just empty. And then there was just one rickshaw which was coming, and I hopped into it. And then the rickshaw was actually not a very good one. And that was that auto rickshaw actually could not drive fast. It was going very slow. You know how tense I was. And after that, the moment it came onto the main road, there was a big traffic. There were two big trucks. There was three buses in the line, and there was a red light. And that red light would just not open. And you can just see me sitting in that rickshaw waiting till, oh my God, it will be 5 p.m. How will I go? How will I reach? There would be people waiting for me. And slowly, slowly, that rickshaw is moving, very slowly, because that's the only one I could find. And then the traffic was very, very slow, because anybody who's been to Mumbai can understand Mumbai's traffic is very slow. I'm from Mumbai, huh? I'm joined you people from Mumbai. It was very, very, very slow. And finally, when I reached here, and then in my building, the lift would not come. And I'm pressing the button, and the lift is not coming. What did you just saw? The story continues. I'm here on time, but still, could you visualize that empty road? Could you visualize that auto rickshaw which was going very slow with cut, 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 cut? Can you see those trucks and that red light there, the signal which is not turning green? Can you see somebody in that auto rickshaw like me getting very, very tense and very, very frustrated? All those are the visual perceptions. Now I can give you all of those visual perceptions because I can explain it to you in detail of what happened. So these things, the cause and the effect, the sequence, the narration, the situations, everything, can you imagine how much we are not even 10% of a child's imagination. The child's mind and their imagination go much further. And if you stop here and then you say, then what do you think I did next? Okay. What do you think happened? Did I reach on time? I didn't reach on time. What happened after I reached? So there's so many questions and answers, which helps the children to develop what? Problem solving. There's critical thinking. There is a lot of thinking and the neuron synapses going on in the brain, because they're trying to think what will happen, what's going to be the end, and what is going to be the result and the consequences of all of this. So all these are going to make them great thinkers, and their cognitive abilities to analyze things, analyze situations, and solve problems, and with very logical and critical thinking, is going to help you in all the subjects that you're teaching, and not only in the preschool or in the foundation stages of the primary, hence throughout life those children are going to be utilizing these skills that they're getting through stories. So you people agree or not? Questions developing, memories, yes, true. They are agreeing to me. Very good.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Right. So you see how much stories can do for you? So anything that you want to teach and they're not learning, go to a story. Now, we do not usually find stories for every concept and theme that we have in our school. Where do you find them from? How do we tell the stories? Because usually if you go to Google and you go search the YouTube and you search on Google, maybe you don't find a story which is talking about your farm animals that you want to teach, or is not teaching you about germination. Then what do? One method is that you take up these old stories which are there, the fairy tales. Anybody who knows which story is this? Or have heard it, read it, know it from your childhood? It's a very old story.
Rapunzel. Yes, ma'am. We got the right answer. Nirmala ma'am, Rapunzel.
Yeah, it's Rapunzel. Now, Rapunzel is a fairy tale which I used to love hearing from my grandmother and my mom. So I used to have those big fairy tale books and they used to keep reading out to me. And I used to always feel, oh my God, that girl had such lovely long hair. And that had my fascination with long hair, which I never got. Okay, I never had that kind of long, thick hair. I always had this very fine hair, which would not grow long. Anyways, so now when you are going to tell the story, you tell me how can you introduce STEAM into it? You know STEAM? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, arts. How can you make your own story out of this? So this is one way, because if you're not finding the story that you want, I have Rapunzel and it can be a science story. We're talking about story-based pedagogy, remember. So this is a story and you have to make it into a pedagogy. You have to make it into your, you have to include it in your curriculum as a content. But for teaching, then what will you do?
Teacher
Okay.
says the answer will be long. If you can ask me, I'll ask you to unmute yourself. I'll allow you to unmute
If
yourself.
you
and
have.
Hmm.
If you have an answer. If you don't have an answer, I'll give you the answer.
Yes. Ma'am, Jyoti ma'am has given one answer. We can relate its strength to the STEM.
Okay.
Vijayashree ma'am has given an answer, situation telling.
All right. Now let me tell you how do you do it with your science, technology, and mathematics and everything else.
Meeta ma'am has given an answer at the growth concept.
As a growth concept. Okay, very good. You people are trying very hard and it's very good. And all of you are correct, by the way. There are no wrong answers in my session. You don't have to shy away from saying whatever you feel like, okay, and whatever comes to your mind. Okay, so the thing is that when you talk about the Rapunzel's hair through which the witch would climb, through which the prince would climb, what about Rapunzel coming down? How could she would have come down? So then if you ask this to the children, you know what will happen? Ask the children this. Now Rapunzel is in the tower. The tower is very high and she needs to come down. She can't use her own hair to come down. Now what does she do? So the children will come up with various answers. Maybe there was a rope. No, we'll build a ladder. Maybe there's a ladder. So they say she doesn't have a ladder. Can you try to make a ladder for her? Then you will have to also ask them with what will you make the ladder. If you have this in your craft class, in a construction class, you can ask them to make it with paper, with straws, with sticks, ice cream sticks. Make a ladder for Rapunzel to come down. So you see how many of the things will come to their mind. Climber. Yes, somebody said, I just saw that.
Yeah.
Clear the curtains and climb.
Clear the curtains and
Yeah,
climb.
see, so much of hardly how much of creativity is coming down right now from you people is coming. It's an old story, but how do you give it a new twist? You can give it a new twist, right? So there are so many things. It is not always required. See, gender equality. There's not always a prince required to save the princess. Why would he come and bring her down? She can come down on her own also. So you can find, so you can tell them that the girls can do anything and everything that they want to do. This is how they can bring in so many concepts into your classrooms only with a little bit of a creativity. Okay. This story, anybody knows what is this story? Anybody who knows the story? Gingerbread.
Right.
Nirmala ma'am said gingerbread. Okay, gingerbread man. Very good. You know, gingerbread man had to cross the river. And the moment he will get into the water, he'll melt because he's made up of dough, like a cookie. Yeah, he's a cookie man. So he cannot go into the water because that would wet him and melt him. So he has to cross the river. Again, you have to give this question to the children. How would he cross the river? There would be hundreds of answers. And then at the end, you can have a project of making a bridge for gingerbread man. Take up a tray, keep 10 things in that and tell them how to make a bridge out of this. You can keep hay, leaves, flowers, paper, straws, newspaper, everything. And I'll let them decide on what they want to make a bridge with. And then you question them. Will this bridge be strong? Will this last? Will it take the weight of the gingerbread man? Will it collapse? All of this. You would use a plastic plate to
Yes,
float.
ma'am.
Yeah, see, so many things are there. So again, with the story, you have created a lot of float and sink, soluble, insoluble, strength, measurement, materials. There are so many concepts that with the story, you can relate to it and you can have the answers from the children themselves. So that they are thinking, you're not giving away the answers. You're not telling them everything. This is what happened. हाँ बस ये हो गया final, the end. हाँ ऐसा ही हुआ था. No, that's not the today's generation. Today's alpha generation needs to have their thinking caps on all the time. उनको चाहिए कि वो बताएंगे आपको what is the solution. Don't they keep telling you everything? They have a solution for everything. So they feel you do not know. The teachers don't know, the parents don't know, nobody knows anything. They only know everything. So let them only find the solutions to your problems that the stories are posing so that they are involved and they are thinking. And through that, you can teach a lot of concepts to them. And that too in such a fun manner. Imagine they are making and they're constructing and then they're figuring out whether this is good or not. Why not use Lego blocks? Very safe, no?
Yes.
And every school would have it. And it would not melt, it would not fall because it's all put together. It will take the weight of the gingerbread also. So many things. So let's use blocks ultimately to make a bridge. See, these kind of things in your classrooms can happen. All right. You all know this also, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I'm only telling you the answer. Now, a lot of things. Gratitude, hospitality, how all the seven dwarfs were different in their abilities, what were their names, what would they do. So many different kind of children in your classrooms. You want to teach a lesson on inclusivity. You want to bring out an environment of inclusivity in your classrooms. There are so many things that you can teach through one story, which is an age-old story. So you need not have a stepmother who's trying to poison the Snow White. You can change it. So that's what I'm saying. You can be the story writer yourself. You need not look for stories for your themes and concepts. You take some age-old story and make your own stories. And according to the concept or according to the value or the moral or the lesson you are trying to teach in your class. Right on? We're good to go? Anybody who has not understood anything and has any questions?
We are good to go, ma'am.
We're good to go?
Yeah.
Do we see
are
some thumbs
receiving
up?
the thumbs up. Yes, ma'am.
We see thumbs ups. Okay. Now, then there comes this story. From that age-old stories, we come to this story. Now, if you see here, what is this? This is like the comic graphics, right? And it's telling you the story of what? What is it telling you the story of?
Water.
Yes, the
Yeah,
water cycle.
Water cycle.
When you're talking to the children about this kind of an abstract concept of water cycle, of how the water turns into gases and then how it goes up and what is precipitation, how it comes down again, how is rain formed, all of these, if you're talking to the children about in senior KG level, grade 1, grade 2, Isn't this easy when you talk about it in this kind of a manner, which they love to look at? So you can make story cards out of this. You can make flashcards out of this. And you can just tell them the story that, there's a boy who's asking the water droplet, what are you doing here? So the water droplet is saying, today is my day off from the water cycle. I'm enjoying myself. And the boy is asking, water cycle? What is that water cycle? I don't know any water cycle. That is, you're the children of your class that you're trying to teach. So they all relate to it. Even I don't know what is water cycle. So then the water droplet himself is only talking about what is a water cycle. And they say, let me teach you that what happens to the water. So these kind of things, you can make it into simple language also. Right now, it has the vocabulary is a little higher. So you can make it into a simple language type of a thing and tell them all about the water cycle, your water bodies, landforms, anything that you want to teach, you can teach it through these kind of graphic images and narrate a story to them. Do you think they will ever forget if you tell them in this manner? If I draw it on the board and to teach them, this is what it is, there is water here, and then how it goes through evaporation. Do you think they will learn better? Or if you tell them in a story, it will be better? Answers?
Of course, ma'am, story would be better.
Yeah, of course. If you tell them in a certain manner, they will never forget it. There was a boy who met a water droplet. What was the water droplet doing there? The water droplet had a chutti. He was not involved in the water cycle, and he was telling the boy about how the water cycle works and how the rains are formed. And what happened? There was a big sun, and now the water in the lake, it was evaporating. Evaporating meaning going up like a gas. So if you tell the story in this kind of a manner, with a lot of voice modulation, with a lot of expressions, gestures, and these kind of cards to help you out, not very difficult to make, easy, and also very effective, right?
It is not only helping them to understand the process, and it is going to help them to remember it to the longer time as well. They can imagine with the picture and they can correlate the evaporation, the other methods with the picture.
Yes,
It's
yes.
going to help them for the long
Giving them a visual help, no? Side
Yes.
by side. For their remembrance, there's a lot of visual help to them, given to them, so that it's not only talking, it's not only auditory that they're listening to it, they're also looking at it. So understanding, like Preeti said, would be much better. And the memory is going to be much more stronger. Because we always remember the incidents of a story much better than what is being told to us in a lecture format, right? You people have trainings in your schools? Or do you have meetings with your coordinators and principals? I'm
Yes,
sorry, if there are any
ma'am.
coordinators and principals here, they're going to kill me. And when you go there and all the teachers
Yes,
are
so many yeses on the chat box,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, of
you
course.
have training and meetings, and then when you all are sitting in the staff room and in the chairs, and there's the principal or the coordinator or the trainer who is speaking to you, how many of you register what has been told to you the next day? Okay, don't answer. It's okay. I know it. I have been a school head. I've been a teacher also. I am on both the sides. I've been on both the sides of the coin. So I know what it is like. Yeah, we fall asleep. We look for the samosas and the chai after the training. We look up for कि कब छुट्टी होगी, ये कितना बोल रहे हैं, and all of those. Right?
But yes, ma'am, whenever they are having experiential learning in any kind of a training, they can remember it for the longer time.
Exactly. I was coming to that. And when you have trainings like, where the trainer is actually involving you into the games and then you're telling you, okay, now you do this, or it's showing you these visuals, or there is like a PPT to look at, or there is like a video or an audio to listen to, or you're seeing a video, everything registers much more faster.
Yes.
And the same thing is with the children. So forget about the chalk and talk method. You have to try to adapt and make learning very interesting for the children. Okay, and you please do not think that here you can sleep. Okay, all of you have to be awake because I'm going to give you an activity to do.
And ma'am, we are getting 5,000 yeses in the chat box. So everybody is listening to you. Active
Yes,
listening is
and
happening.
I have to have 5,000, 10,000.
Yes, ma'am, we already have.
Yeah, and then
so active listening is going on.
Absolutely, because they all know. Not they all. Only the 4-5 who have attended my sessions earlier know that I can't do. I don't leave you people. I don't leave my students halfway.
So ma'am, we are getting ready for the activity as well. Sure,
Yeah,
ma'am. We all are ready. Yes.
Okay. Activity is going to come in just a moment. Okay, so how all can you tell the stories? These are some of the examples. Very simply put, you can use storybooks, you can use your flannel boards or the soft boards that are there in your classrooms. You can use picture cards, story cards, you can use puppets, you can use an audio story, you can use a video story. Okay, there are so many ways that you can tell the stories in your class. Now, if you have, suppose in a particular, must be all having theme-based curriculum, like 1 month there's one theme, myself, community helpers, animals, transport, plants, all of those. For each theme, there would be 10 concepts or so. Try to make those 10 concepts stories in different formats. Something would be picture cards, something you would be telling through puppets, something would have an audio, something would be a storybook, something would be a video. So this way you can have an amalgamation, a combination of all these techniques for different stories, probably for the same theme, for the different themes, for same concept, for other concepts, whatever you want. English, Hindi, math, science, whatever you want to teach, you can teach through this. Okay. What will the children do after you've told them the story? How would you assess them? बहुत बड़ा क्वेश्चन है हाँ हमारे इंडिया में. एग्जाम, असेसमेंट, बच्चे को समझ में कितना आया, हाउ डू यू नो? सो दैट वे दीज आर योर असेसमेंट टेक्निक्स. सब ऐसे बोल देने से नहीं होता है ना मैम, हमारा मैनेजमेंट तो मानेगा ही नहीं, खाली स्टोरी सुनाते रहेंगे तो थोड़ी ना होगा. पेरेंट्स विल से वेयर इज असेसमेंट, व्हाट मार्क्स माय चाइल्ड गॉट, डिड ही इज ही गेटिंग ए ग्रेड और नॉट, all of those questions आएंगे ना. So अगर if you're using a story based pedagogy, then we have to have an assessments also based on stories, right? Observations also, comprehension level तो चेक करना ही करना है कितना समझ में आया. अभी थोड़ी ना मोटरसाइकिल का स्टोरी सुना दिया और भूल गए, पता भी तो चलना चाहिए एवेपोरेशन याद है कि नहीं है, precipitation याद है कि नहीं है. So क्या करने का, उसके लिए you have to have all these. So if there were 6 ways of telling the stories, there are 6 ways of assessing also. You can ask the child to draw a particular scene, sequence, situation from the story. So you will test the memory, whether they remember that situation or not. You just give a hint or a clue and ask them to draw. So there are so many children who would love to draw. Then if they are not drawing also properly, then you ask them what they have drawn. So then you can document it. So you will know what is the child talking about. Then you can give them story cards, small cards, like our flashcards, small cards you can give them, which has the pictures of the story of different incidents and you jumble them up. And now you tell them to sequence the story. What happened first and what happened next. Like if you're doing germination, you can do a germination story sequencing. Like first there was a seed that was sown in the soil. Then out came the sun. Then there was a chutusa shoot. The roots grew stronger. Then the shoot went longer. Yeah. And then there were leaves. Then there were flowers. Then there were water, whatever. And after that, we had a full-fledged plant. So now this is, you can have it in different cards and let the children put it together. So they understand the process of germination. How about the process and the life cycle of a butterfly? Life cycle of a frog? All of these concepts, story sequencing. Tell them the story in whatever manner you want to tell what I said. And after that, ask them to sequence it. They can act out the story. So when they're acting out, there are 3-4 children, you make them into smaller groups and tell them to act out the story. Now, when they're acting it out, they're saying the dialogues. They're telling you what happened in the story. They are acting like, now if I'm just giving you an example, most common one. Like if I'm telling you a Little Red Riding Hood story, there's a Little Red Riding Hood, there's a wolf, there's a grandmother, there's a mother, there's a father with an axe. Now, I have 5 children who are going to act out the story. Now, when they're going to act out the story, they're going to exactly tell me what's going to happen and how it happened. And when they're talking about it, their communication, their language, their vocabulary, the words that they're using, everything improves and they remember it. So then you can obviously understand that they have understood the story and the concepts that you are trying to teach them. Twisted story. Now, this is a little advanced level of it. The first 3 were for all levels of children, right from nursery onwards. The second 3 boxes that you see, twisted story, prediction of the story, and the question and answers can come from junior KG, senior KG, grade 1 and 2. Now, when you say twisted story, it can be that if a child wants to give a different end to the story, okay? Or for one story, they want to do a different situation. What if Red Riding Hood never told the wolf that she was going to the grandmother's house? Then where would the wolf go? What if the wolf didn't know where Red Riding Hood's grandmother lives? Then what will happen? So these kind of things are situation based. So then again, there's a lot of critical thinking and problem solving involved, logical analysis. So if you know about the Bloom's taxonomy, they say that memory is the least thing, that the first stage in the pyramid. The last is the analysis and the implementation, right? So these things you can develop right from the beginning in the child with all the stories. Predict, telling a new story to the child, okay, your own created theme based story or something of that sort in the class, and don't tell them the end like I told you about Giju Bhai. Don't tell them the entire thing, what happened next. Ask them to predict what happened. Tell me what happened. Now you have 30 children in the class. Let's say at least 10 of them are shy and they're not speaking out, but 20 would tell you, give different endings to the same story. Jot them down. Uske aap 10 stories और बना लेना. Good idea, na? बच्चे ही बता देते हैं, उनसे हम कितना कुछ सीख सकते हैं. Children teaches us so much. So then when you ask them, okay, you stop at a particular point in a story and then tell them, अब बताओ इसके बाद क्या हुआ. So what you had written, probably none of them are going to say the same thing. They're all going to say different things. So you have 10 different stories. अच्छा आइडिया है? थम्स अप करके बताओ. नहीं अच्छा लगा तो थम्स डाउन कर देना. Yeah, the people who have their video on, best है. मेरे को दिख जाता है ये रे thumbs up.
Yes, ma'am.
Super
Getting
cool.
thumbs ups in the chat box. Yes.
Yeah. Chat box is Preeti's domain. I can't see chat box because I'm sharing the screen and I'm talking to all of you also. So this is fun. Then the question and answers come. Now question and answers, first, initially it would be very simple question and answer. Who was Red Riding Hood? Which was her favorite color? Where was she going? And then it could be complex questions. Like I told you, then you can have n number of complex questions to say. What did you learn from the story? When your mama told you not to stop in the woods, you should not stop in between. When you are not supposed to talk to strangers, you do not talk to strangers. There's so many things that you can bring in later. Yeah? Multiple different complexities. So I'm telling the same story in a nursery class, my questions will be different. My assessments will be different. I'm telling the same story in senior KG, my questions will be different. My assessments will be different. So how it is progressing? Because we want a progressive curriculum. But then how do you do that with stories is very, very important. And this is what I wanted you people to know. Any questions?
No, ma'am. No question as of now.
See, if you're not asking the questions now, I can only take away one thing, and that is I am too good. That means I am explaining everything so beautifully that you people have understood everything that I have said till now.
Ma'am, we are getting thumbs up on that statement.
On that statement also.
It's amazing.
Just
Shima
take that
ma'am is saying it's amazing. Yes.
I'll take that as a compliment. इसका मतलब जितना मैंने समझाया सब समझ आ गया. That means I'm a good teacher. So another things that you can take down if you want to take notes, if you want to.
Priya ma'am is saying yes, indeed, you're too good.
Thank you so much. Okay, this you can take a picture or you can take down in your notebooks that you can ask the children to retell the stories in their own words. They can change the end, they can change the situation, they can change the character. Suppose I was Red Riding Hood, what would I done? So you can change the situation. You can change the character also. I don't like Red Riding Hood. Let me put Snow White here or let me put Rapunzel here. Rapunzel tower में गई ही नहीं, वो जंगल में जा रही थी. It's okay. I'm okay with it. So you see. So then you see what are their reactions. And if you are Red Riding Hood, what will be your reaction? What will you do? Ask them that. Let them create their own stories. You give them a concept. You tell them, I want a story on a hen. Let them come up with a story. It would not be a great story, no, because they're small children. So they will come up with some kind of sentences and it would not be linked together. It would not be in the correct sequence. That is your job. Then you put it together. Simple. With senior KG, grade 1 and 2, you can do story weaving yarn. That you take a particular thread or a yarn or a wool piece, and from one to the other, they keep passing on and they keep making up a story. So one child says one sentence, Yeah, yesterday I was going to the market. Pass it on. I was going to the market to buy vegetables with my mother. Pass it on, and then keep making a story. And then there should be an incident that happened. So we can have those kind of things. So then you have to tell the children what are the elements of the story. This is for you also. If you are making your own story, and if you're looking for to write a good story for your concepts, these are the elements of the story. You will start with creating a background. कैरेक्टर कहाँ थे है वो भी राइट सिटी में गांव में सड़क पे घर पे मार्केट में where are we there has to be a particular background and then it has to be कि what happened what was the action like right हो क्या रहा था चल क्या रहा है आगे क्या होने वाला है all of those then there's a climax where there's a problem problem means I was going to the market like I started I was going to buy vegetables with my mother to the market, and then suddenly we saw a bull coming in, running, and everybody was running helter skelter. So अभी तो हमने vegetables नहीं खरीदा. There was a bull in the market. ठीक है अभी क्या करने का? So then there was a climax. Then there was a falling action. That means the character will have to think about something, know what to do there to solve that problem, and end में the problems get solved. With children, all stories should have a positive ending. Okay, we all love to go home happy after seeing a movie also which is on a happy ending note, which was there till 2002, 3, 4. After that we started making some unpredictable movies, and right now we are only interested in crime. OTT and movies are not that fun now because they don't have happy endings, and especially not meant for children. But in your classrooms, all stories should have a very good happy ending because a resolution is a must for a child. Otherwise, they feel restless. They need to have ki haan, sab theek ho gaya. Now, these are your steps for great storytelling. I've already covered all of them. So you'll create characters. Characters should be according to the concept. Like I told you, the boy and the water droplet. And the water droplet is talking to the boy. Then you have to have the characters, and then you have to make your storytelling. A big storytelling would take 3 days, and then you have to make it big, or it's a small story that you have to make it in a smaller way. So you can take a small group of children, sit in a circle, tell a story, a small story, and immediately finished. Big storytelling would require props, would require cards, puppets, visuals, something or the other for the children to relate to. You should have fully control over your facial expressions. Okay, ऐसे वैसे स्टोरी सुना रहे बहुत प्लेजेंट फेस है तो there was a lovely girl and she was going and she had lovely beautiful blue hair and वहां से एक बच्चा बात कर what are you doing स्टोरी टूट गया ना my entire concentration of that lovely girl who was having lovely hair वो जो मैं सुन रहा था तो चले गया and I'm like teacher is making faces and looking angrily at some boy don't concentrate so talk with your hands. Very important. A good storyteller would always use gestures. Create a storytelling atmosphere. Again, very important. First, gain the attention. Let the children be with you and then start. Okay. Quiet place, outside, under a tree, out in the garden, anywhere. Storytelling can happen anywhere. Not inside a classroom. It's not compulsory at all. Win the audience with the first line. Now, whenever you're starting a story, I'll give you an example a bit later in the session also. How do you grab the attention of the children? Because children are very restless and they don't look at you if you tell them to look at you. See, understand one thing. With preschoolers, no, whatever you tell them not to do or to do, they do just the opposite. And this is their basic nature. So you cannot fight with it. You will say, don't run, they'll run. You will say, look at me, they'll not look at you. And this so all the teachers face in the classrooms. Right? Wrong?
Of course, ma'am.
Of course.
They want to do why we have been asked not to do this.
Yeah. So this was another session, but I'll tell you classroom management is another session, but that I'll tell you right now only is extra. Additional point is never use the word no and don't. I'll tell you why. None of the children understand it only. It doesn't register. So always use positive sentences. Always say, let's listen to a story. We will walk softly. We will use soft voices to talk. Don't shout. Don't नहीं सुना तो क्या सुना?
Shout.
हाँ, don't run. Don't तो नहीं register हुआ, क्या register हुआ?
Run. That is why they are running.
Exactly. अभी आपने समझा. All the women who are married here, the same applies to your husbands also. उनको भी no
Lovely.
समझता था. समझ लो बात को, बोलना ही नहीं, हमेशा always positive sentences. Husbands also don't register no and don'ts. Okay. Don't leave the towel on the bed. वही मिलेगा. तो
They are
इसलिए
still kids.
हाँ,
That is why they don't listen. Don't.
men never grow up. Okay. Men never grow up. You always babysit them. Okay. So tell the story with a lot of feelings, because the feelings are something that the children will relate to, and they will relate to the story even more. Involve the audience in the story. Like I told you, ask them what's going to happen next. Okay. And then slow down for the ending. That aram say, let it register the main concept that you're teaching, the main thing that you want to tell them. The takeaway for home has to be slowly, steadily told to them. Okay. Not in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry to finish off. Period खत्म होने वाला है. Bell बज जाएगी. चलो चलो बंद करो. ऐसा नहीं करना. ठीक है? These are the things to remember. Now, are you ready to listen to a story?
Of course, yes. Yes.
हाँ, देख लो, सुनना पड़ेगा. हाँ, पर.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. देखते हैं.
The chat box is flooded with the yeses.
अच्छा, they're so happy to listen to a story.
Yes, ma'am.
मतलब मैं तो
You
बिल्कुल
can see
बेकार
those
थी.
cameras are on. Yeah,
Bore हो
happy smiley face.
हाँ, बोर हो रहे थे क्या? मेरे बोलने से अभी स्टोरी सुनने के लिए सब इतने खुश हो गए. अच्छा ठीक है, अभी बताते हैं. चलो. Let's see. Just tell me if the audio is audible, if you can hear it. Okay.
Children, welcome to Kiss
Ma'am,
Story.
yes, audible.
We are going to read Copycat Bear.
And it's, you can
Mango
see
had a
the-
generous friend
ma'am.
called Blue. They went everywhere together, but there was a problem. Blue copied everything Mango did. Mango flapped her wings. Blue flapped his huge hairy paws. Mango hopped along the ground. Bluey wobbled from one big paw to the other. Copycat bear, said Mango.
Okay. One warning, huh? This is some foreigner who's reading the story. The pronunciations are not correct, but it's okay. Language is something that we are not looking at. You people, when you read out the stories to the children, read it in the pronunciation that is used in India and Britain. Okay? हाँ, bear नहीं है. It's a bear. Bear कुछ और होते हैं. Let's continue.
Mango flew up into a tree. Listen, she chirped. You are a bear and I'm a bird. Birds are different from bears. Birds live in trees. I do too, said Blue. And Blue climbed up into the tree. His big arm shook the branches and all the twigs fell off Mango's new nest.
Is it okay? You people are able to understand? Blue is going to copy Mango for everything. Okay?
Bear brain, said Mango. Now I am going to sing a song, but don't copy me. Bear don't sing. Bears do too, said Blue. And he took a deep breath. Roar!
That was the singing.
Copycat bear, squawked Mango. Look, I can fly, and that is something bears just don't do. I do, said Blue, and he jumped and crashed to the ground, nearly squashing Mango. Mango smoothed her tiny feathers and shrilled. You see, bears can't fly. And With that, she flew away. Blue was all alone. Mango souped and swirled in the sunlight. It felt strange to be on her own. Then she flew down and sat on a branch. She started thinking about Blue. Was he lonely by himself? Was he thinking about her? Everything came on, came on, and Mango flew up, searching everywhere for Blue. She found him curled up under the tree where she would left him. Birds are different from bears, Mango said, but they can be best friends. She hopped onto his broad back and snuggled into his thick fur. I missed you, she sang softly. I missed you too, said Blue. My copycat bear, said Mango happily.
Okay. So this is a damn good story. Has been narrated in a very bad manner. Do you agree or no? Was the narration good?
We are getting no in the chat box.
Yeah, the narration was not good. Now, this is what you do to a good story if you're not going to narrate it nicely in your class. Okay? It hasn't have to be narrated in this manner. It has to be narrated with a lot of feelings. Okay? Because it's a book. I have this hard copy of the book also. Okay? I have it with me. Now, if I have to tell you the story, it would be in a very different manner. Why? Because I tell stories to children. And I know how you have to tell the stories to the children. So you don't have to read out. You have to say it with, like I told you, with a lot of facial expressions, with a lot of feelings. It has to be when Mango is feeling sad, thinking about Blue, it has to be, oh my, where is Blue? Why am I missing him so much? Is he also missing me? Let me go look for him. That kind of a thing. Then you will go and look for him. And then you will create that feelings in the child. Right? That is why I had chosen this foreigner who was reading from the book. Don't ever read from the book. When you're narrating a story, narrate a story. Yes or no? Would you tell the story like her? Or are you going to narrate it nicely?
Like her, never.
Super cool. Very good. Well done. I'm proud of you. Never. Acha. Now this is the activity. Now most of you are new to my session. The ones who had attended my earlier sessions should know what is Walt, Wilf, Tip, Waggle, and Will. These are the abbreviations which I use. And those who are new would not know what are the full forms, right? So the activity is you have to define all these for the activity based on the story. Now you've seen the story, right? This story is for personal, social, and emotional development. Now you have to write the Walt, Wilf, and Tip. Now first and foremost, if you don't have a paper and a pen, take it so that you can write what the full forms are. Very important in a pedagogy, very important for curriculum and content. Walt is we are learning to. WALT. We are learning to. Wilf is what I am looking for. What I am looking for. And tip is this is because. Waggle and Will are the advanced stages. We'll come to that later. Now, when we talk about Walt, Wilf, and Tip, what you have to explain is we are looking to, for as a teacher, if you're going to tell the story of Blue and Mango to your children, we are looking to do what? So children we are learning to, that WALT, we are learning to do what? And what I am looking for is from the teacher's perspective. What are you looking for? We are learning to, what are the children learning to? We are learning to understand friendship, emotions, differences. Okay. What I am looking for? What I'm looking for is to understand the story, read the story, remember the story. This is because is your reason for doing a particular activity or a story with them. That is, you have to define all of this as a teacher. That, okay, this is because I want the students to learn about.
To develop creativity, we have received one answer in the chat box from Shweta ma'am.
What is that answer?
To develop creativity.
To develop creativity, yes. To develop social emotional, you have social emotional development in the class. So when we talk about copycat bear, you can talk about a lot of things. You can tell them that you should not be copying other. You are who you are. Everybody is unique in their abilities. Their friends, you do not see what one can do and what the other can do. Like at the end, they were missing each other. And they said that we can be best of friends, even if we are very different from one another, right? Missing, sadness, happiness, singing song, everything you can do about social and emotional development in your classrooms. Now write the full form of our goal and bill, which is an advanced stage for your lesson planning or for your content pedagogy. VAGOLOLL is what a good one looks like. What a good one looks like. That is for your own evaluation. What a good activity, what a good story would look like.
I have given the full form in the chat box, ma'am. So for those who are writing, they can copy it from the chat box as well.
Yeah. And will, WILL is what it looks like. That is, currently, what does it look like? The activity or the story that you're doing. So this is for your own evaluation. Good to go? Now you have to think about all of this. How can you use this story in preschool curriculum? You can learn 3 learning outcomes catering to each learning domain. Learning domains are CPA, cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. Cognitive means where they have to think and use their brains. Psychomotor is where they have to use their hands or any kind of movement. And affective domain, A, is where they have to be having some kind of a feeling or emotions attached to it. Okay, so those are the learning outcomes that you can like. And how can you bring the story to life with the children in the class? You can wear a bear costume, you can use puppets or whatever you want to do. So this is how you would be analyzing your stories and thinking about them. Okay.
We have got one answer, ma'am, from Shweta ma'am. It looks like an angel for all of us during our difficult times.
So cute. That's a nice answer. Now see, this is another story. Now these are all the stories that I've taken from YouTube. Maine to kuch nahi banaya. So you people can also go and look for these stories on the YouTube also. Now this story, of course, we don't have time to do the entire thing. Preeti was here till 6 p.m. only. You people were also joining us for till 6 p.m. It will become very late if we can kind of do all the stories that I have with me. Not possible. So just tell you about this one a little bit.
Hi everybody, it's Amy. I have another great story to read to you today. This is by Kay Barnum and illustrated these beautiful.
Whenever you are reading out from a book, always tell the children about the author, the name of the story, and the illustrator, because that is how they will
Butterflies.
the parts of the book.
Written by Kay Barnum and illustrated by Maddie Frost.
Always show them the book.
In the warmer months of spring and summer, butterflies flutter about like bees. Egg. Some eggs are round, some are oval, and some have ridges. The female butterfly sticks her eggs on leaves or stems, very close together. This plant will soon become food. Inside the butterfly's egg, new life is growing. But these creatures are not yet butterflies. After a few days, the egg hatches and the butterfly larvae appears. Butterfly larvae are also known as pupae or caterpillars. At first, they look Caterpillars eat plants, but some eat other insect bugs. In some countries, slowly a shell forms around it.
This entire storybook is about the life cycle of a butterfly. And then when you see, it talks about the caterpillar also, and talks about butterfly also, it talks about the garden, the flowers, the pollen, the egg hatching and everything. So many incidental learning is happening. So you were just telling about the life cycle of a butterfly, but there's so much of more of information and knowledge going. And if you're going to tell it in this manner in a story, what's going to happen? You repeat this story 3 times in your classroom. You don't have to teach them the life cycle of a butterfly. You don't have to draw diagrams. You don't have to use videos. You don't have to do anything. Digital medium or kuch bhi use karne ki zarurat nahi hai. This is how you can just tell them a story. Take a book and you're reading out to them, narrating a story about the life cycle of a butterfly in such an interesting manner. Right now, I'm not telling you the entire thing, but if you actually use it in your classrooms, you'll see how interesting the story is. And the children get hooked onto this. Now there is one story which is like an audio book. Okay, this is by Eric Carle. If you don't know Eric Carle, research on it. This is about colors.
Brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me.
Okay, it goes on. Acha, one sec.
What do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yellow duck, what do you see?
It goes on from here, and they see different kind of animals in different colors, which colors are not theirs, but it actually teaches the children a color. Now, this story book and the story is all about in a song manner. So you can use this visual for teaching colors in nursery or junior KG when they're doing colors. So this is how your stories can be into rhymes. Now, this was my last slide. I'll just show you a little bit of it, and then we are done. Now, just imagine this happening. This sound coming into your classroom all of a sudden. Suddenly, you're sitting, children are there and they were doing something like the snack break got over or a physical outdoor play got over and they come into the class and all of a sudden you just play this. When I was telling you about grabbing their attention, this is what I meant. This is of course, the most famous Kara details. So there are the whole range of Kara details are there in books, in audios, in CDs, on YouTube. You can just hear it and it just gets you hooked on.
I'll tell you about monkeys, lions fierce and strong. Go towards it. I find Manu and Maya, my cousin bears, already resting under the shade of the tree. Their 3-year-old son Chotu comes running towards me.
Uncle Karadi, come sit with us.
He squeals. He drags
Music and story together.
And the children would be more curious about what is going to happen in the class when all of a sudden they listen this kind of a music.
All of a sudden there's a noise, there's a music, there's a sound, there something like if you don't have it in your classrooms, ma'am play किस पे करेंगे, हमारे पास कोई audio होता नहीं है क्लास में, हमारे को school management ने कुछ नहीं दिया. So once if you do not have it in your class, you do this, boom 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 boom. All the children are looking at you. क्या हो गया teacher को? So think about it. If you are an early childhood educator, if you're a preschool teacher, you have to be a real big clown. You have to be a very big storyteller. You cannot be a normal teacher. That is only for middle and senior secondary. I do believe it. They should not in those grades also. They should not be normal teachers who read from.
As a teacher, you will also enjoy it. Doing these kind of activity, you will also enjoy it.
Yeah, jump around, hop. play with them, tell them these stories in this manner, sing songs with them, make them happy, you be happy. When you're going home, you will be full of energy instead of saying, आज का दिन खत्म हो गया, अब मेरे को कल फिर स्कूल आना है. ऐसा नहीं रहेगा. You will enjoy much more. I enjoyed my teaching days because I used to do all of this. When I was a teacher, I used to really look forward for going to the school the next day to be with my kids, so that we can do all these musties together. And then the curriculum or anything, completing those things were never a stress. It used to just get over like this, playing. Right on. So like I told you, this was just a gist of storytelling and story-based pedagogy. Many different styles of storytelling, many different ways you can use it, and a lot of fun. And how do you create learning outcomes and assessment parameters with this? There has to be a complete curriculum structure for all the 4 grades or 2 grades, whatever you're teaching. And after that, how do you take it further? What is the progressive parameters for it? How will you make their activities? How will you grade them? All those things are structural things that we have to do, okay? That we do when we are designing curriculum, when you're developing a new curriculum. So story-based pedagogy, if you're going to use, you have to design a new curriculum. And for that, of course, we need more time. I can't teach you that today. And from me, that's it. Thank you very much for being such wonderful participants, because I love the way the chat box was going on. And right now, if you can all please turn on your videos and we can have a look at all of you, and you can all just tell me what did you feel and how was the session. I love feedbacks. Good, bad, both, huh?
We can see from the chat box, ma'am, all the educators enjoyed a lot, and we are running late. It's 18:17 now, but
So
still
no sharing of feedback.
everybody is active.
Okay. No sharing.
Wonderful session, ma'am. Awesome session, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, educators, for joining in. We have shared a feedback link in the chat box, so you can directly click on that link, and to get the certificates, you have to fill the form. So by the end of the next week, you'll be getting all the forms, certificates.
Right.
Thank you so much, Preeti ma'am. It was a
Bye-bye.
wonderful session.
Thank you so much, Preeti, for hosting us. And thank you, educators, for joining in. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining in.